The woman who couldn't feel anything. She didn't cry at her mother's funeral. Not when the casket closed. Not when the pastor prayed. Not when her younger brother collapsed into the arms of relatives, shaking. The church in Chicago, Illinois was filled with grief. But Emily Carter felt nothing. No tightness in her chest. No burning behind her eyes. No trembling hands. Just silence. And in that silence, people began to whisper, "She's so strong. She must be in shock." Or worse, maybe they weren't that close. But what nobody understood was this: Emily wasn't strong. She was gone. And she had been gone for years. The woman everyone admired. Emily Carter was 36 years old, senior marketing executive in downtown Chicago. Corner office, glass walls, clean desk, perfect posture. She had the kind of resume people admired, and the kind of composure people envied. She never overreacted, never cried at work, never lost control. Her husband, Daniel, used to joke, "I married the calmest woman in America." But calm and empty can look identical from the outside. At home, their apartment overlooked Lake Michigan. Floor-to-ceiling windows, soft gray furniture, minimalist decor. It was beautiful. It felt like a hotel. Emily moved through it like a guest in her own life. Where it began. Emily hadn't always been numb. When she was 10 years old, she was loud, emotional, sensitive. She cried during animated movies. She laughed until she hiccuped. She hugged her mother constantly. But then something changed. Her father died suddenly from a heart attack. No warning, no goodbye. One morning he was making pancakes. That night he was gone. Her mother collapsed under the weight of grief. Bills piled up. Silence filled the house. The warmth disappeared. And one night, Emily heard something that would rewire her brain forever. Her mother sobbing in the kitchen, whispering, "I can't survive this." Emily stood in the hallway, small and frozen, and in that moment, a decision formed in her 10-year-old mind. I will not be another burden. So she stopped crying. She stopped asking for comfort. She stopped expressing fear, because somewhere deep inside, her brain concluded, emotion is dangerous. Emotion breaks people. Emotion destroys families. And numbness. Numbness keeps everyone safe. The praise that reinforced it. At the funeral years ago, relatives told her, "You're so strong for your mom. You're the rock of this family. You're mature beyond your years." Praise can become programming. Emily learned that the less she felt, the more she was admired. So she built a life around control. Straight A's, scholarships, top university in Boston, fast career climb. She became exceptional at one thing, functioning. But functioning is not the same as living. The marriage that felt like air. Daniel loved her deeply. He was expressive, warm, talkative. He cried during movies. He celebrated loudly. He argued passionately. Emily listened, nodded, responded rationally. But she rarely felt the emotions he expressed. One night, after their fourth failed attempt at trying for a baby, Daniel finally said it. "I feel alone with you." She looked at him, confused. "I'm here." He shook his head slowly. "No, you're not." That sentence landed somewhere inside her, but it didn't echo, because echoes require feeling. The signs she ignored. There were signs. When her best friend announced her pregnancy, Emily smiled politely. Inside a nothing. When she got promoted to vice president, colleagues cheered. Inside a nothing. When her dog of 12 years died, nothing. That one scared her. She had loved that dog, hadn't she? Or had she simply taken care of it? One evening, she stood in the kitchen, staring at the sink, trying to force tears. Nothing came. She whispered to herself, "What's wrong with me?" The psychology of numbness. What Emily didn't understand was this. Her brain had protected her. When her father died and her mother collapsed emotionally, her nervous system made a survival choice. If emotions equal chaos, then shut them down. Over time, her brain strengthened that pathway. Stress response activated. Suppress. Sadness rising. Detach. Joy building. Flatten it. Her body learned emotional anesthesia. Unlike any long-term survival mechanism, it worked. Until it didn't. The identity crisis. The real crack began at her mother's funeral. Standing in that Chicago church, watching others grieve, she noticed something disturbing. They were in pain, but they were alive. She wasn't in pain, but she wasn't alive either. That night, alone in her childhood bedroom, she stared at the ceiling and asked herself a terrifying question. What if I don't feel because there's nothing left inside? That wasn't fear. That was identity threat. Who are you if you can't feel love? Who are you if you can't feel grief? Who are you if your strength is just emotional absence? The conversation that changed everything. 2 weeks later, Daniel sat across from her at their dining table. I think you need help. The word hit her like accusation. I'm not depressed. I didn't say you were. I function. I know. That's the problem. Silence stretched between them. Then he said something that pierced deeper than anything before. I don't need you to be strong. I need you to be real. Real. She didn't know what that meant anymore. The slow unfreezing. Her therapist, Dr. Lauren Mitchell, didn't label her broken. She labeled her adaptive. You survived something overwhelming, Dr. Mitchell said gently. Your brain shut the volume down to protect you. Emily's first session ended with homework. Notice one feeling this week, even if it's small. Not joy, not grief, just one feeling. The first one she noticed was irritation. A barista got her coffee order wrong. She felt a flicker. Tiny, but real. She wrote it down that night. I felt annoyed. It was the first authentic sentence she had written about herself in years. The flood she feared. Months passed. Therapy sessions became mirrors. Memories resurfaced. The night in the hallway listening to her mother sob. The decision to stop being emotional. The belief that her feelings were dangerous. One session, Dr. Mitchell asked softly, what would happen if 10-year-old Emily cried? Emily's chest tightened. And for the first time in 26 years, tears came. Not dramatic, not cinematic, just quiet, shaking breaths. She didn't collapse. The world didn't end. Her nervous system didn't shatter. She survived feeling. And that changed everything. Realigning emotion. Emotions didn't return like a tidal wave. They returned like raindrops. She laughed at a joke and felt warmth. She felt fear during a work presentation. She felt sadness listening to an old voicemail from her father. Each emotion felt foreign, but alive. Daniel noticed the difference before she did. One evening, she cried while talking about her mother. He didn't fix it. He didn't analyze it. He simply held her, and she let him. That was new. The twist wasn't that Emily was broken. The twist was this. The numbness had once saved her. It allowed a 10-year-old girl to survive overwhelming grief. But survival mode had become permanent, and permanent survival is not living. The part of her she hated had once been heroic. It just needed permission to retire. A realistic life. 20 years later, Emily stood in the same Chicago church for a memorial service. This time, when the choir sang, her chest tightened, her eyes burned, and she cried. Not uncontrollably, not theatrically, just honestly. Afterward, Daniel squeezed her hand. She squeezed back, not mechanically, not automatically, intentionally. She still had days where emotions felt distant. Healing wasn't linear. Some weeks she regressed, some days she detached. But now she knew the difference between strength and absence, and she chose presence, again and again. Maybe you haven't cried in years. Maybe you function perfectly. Maybe people call you strong. But let me ask you something gently. Are you strong? Or are you numb? What emotion have you convinced yourself is too dangerous to feel? What part of you froze to survive? And what would happen if you allowed yourself to thaw? Because here's the truth. You are not broken. You adapted. And adaptation can be unlearned. Slowly, safely, humanly. The woman who couldn't feel anything didn't need fixing. She needed safety. And maybe, so do you. If you have gained value from this video, subscribe, like, say something in the comments section, and share this video to help others who might be going through hidden struggles. Thank you for watching. I'd love to meet you in my next video.